Pronounced the same?
Bogorad.
I've gotten everything.
Why would there be another R at the end?
I thought there was one.
Well, Bogorad is Bogorad.
I know, but
This
I
is
just
the
found
Dallas
out that it's
Stars
Bogorad.
DLLS
Otherwise, it'd be
podcast.
Boogerad.
But they're talking about
Bogorad.
Josh's spelling because we have a great show today. We have an in-studio guest. Josh Bogorad is here. I don't even know why you would think there are more
Bogorad.
R's. It's not that
It's
complicated.
easy, guys.
It's not Bichsel.
It's easy.
We'll get to that.
The show.
Let's get our show started, please. Here we are. Look at that. No holes in it. Obviously, they fixed it a week ago. But Sean already did one from Denver, so we're going to use this tomorrow. Let's call it Wednesday. Here's what happened on the DLLS Dallas Stars podcast.
Our Supreme Overlord Brandon, whatever we call whatever Brandon's title is,
he
right?
would be the founder and CEO of the ALLCITY network, but you can call him our Supreme Overlord.
I like Supreme Overlord better. I actually had texted
Our very own NHL historian, Greg Ludwig.
Oh, okay. What's the question again? I wasn't paying attention.
Like
You just
chewed
have
gum, eh?
random thoughts, don't you? It just pops out there.
That's
Yeah.
a non sequitur.
Let me turn that around, please.
It is Wednesday, October the 2nd. This is the DLLS Dallas Stars podcast, and we are thrilled to have a special guest in studio, our good friend, Josh Bogorad, the play-by-play voice / announcer / face of the Dallas Stars. You can't call him a TV guy because he's also the radio guy. They have both with the simulcast.
He's got a great face, though.
And we are, you're going to make that joke again, aren't you?
No.
Yeah.
We'll ask.
It's debatable.
Hold on the questions for a second.
That wasn't a question.
Josh is here.
I
We're
appreciate
thrilled
it.
to have him.
Looking out, Sam.
We had the president is off screen, so I don't know why I'm pointing. You can't see it. We had the president, CEO of the Dallas Stars as our first guest. Hold on, we're not ready for the map yet. Then we had Razor, who was, I believe, ranked as the 12th most powerful Dallas Star. He felt that he vaulted to number 2 because he was the second guest. Clearly, number
Does
3.
that make me 3? I thought
I
it
was
I-
just going to ask, where were you in the rankings?
Where did it cut off at? Sean
12.
wrote it. Where's
12.
he?
Oh, was that-
Where's
Well,
he
let's-
to?
okay, well, he asked. So
where
now
is
we can,
he?
So just in
Right?
case to check in, there's Sean. He's in
Yeah.
Michigan.
I think.
Well, how do you know? Honestly, Josh, do you know which one Sean is up there?
The Whaler- is it the Whalers
is that
logo?
The Emperor?
Is Sean
From
the
Star
Whalers
Wars?
logo?
Sean is up in the Michigan.
All right. Yeah, I know where Sean is because I
Do you
see him
guys
when we
happen
go to
notice
Detroit.
that the Emperor from Star Wars has now also entered the fray in Texas?
Yeah.
Oh, because our Supreme Overlord from All Cities is here today. I
Okay.
think he'll appreciate the
That's an
nickname.
Easter egg.
Wait,
That's
which
a
one's,
good
which
Easter
one's he?
egg.
Which
To
what
the
logo
left
is him?
of John.
The one guy that doesn't look like he's been on our show.
Is that
Oh, down at what?
who is that? Actually, because I
That's,
don't.
that looks like a
Emperor Palpatine,
character out
Oh,
of
right?
that's
the
the
Joker.
Emperor. Okay.
Oh,
Wow.
Oh, okay. Now I get it.
Now,
You're hot on the Star Wars references, Letty?
No,
you
not
would
on
get a
any
kick out of this,
stuff.
Josh, because
Nothing.
Josh has lived and worked here. But Jeremy
I saw
Swayman
him. He's in
from
my-
Yeah,
Alaska.
and we're trying to figure
Yeah.
out who was that down there on the bottom left. Well, apparently it's Swayman.
That's Swayman.
Did you know that?
Yeah.
Did you know that?
Of course I did.
That's from watching our show.
No,
Oh.
but because there's only a handful of guys who have played in the NHL from Anchorage. I
Oh,
used to
I didn't
live
know that
there.
was.
I used to
oh,
work
that's
there.
Right, you did.
So there's the Alaska connection. So yeah,
Oh.
I actually think his
Shouldn't Josh be
face
down there?
his face is covering my old house. It's
Is
like
it?
right there. Yeah.
As a
Man, you had a
former
big
Alaska
house.
resident, is it
Well,
insulting?
it's covering it. I didn't say it was the entire.
Oh, I thought it was
It
that
wasn't
big.
the entire size.
Somewhere
I'm just
under
saying
there.
Josh
it's
owes-
covering that and many other
It's
mountains
like
and houses.
500,000 acres of your
Couple of
land.
couple of glaciers
What is your
in there.
net worth, Josh? Let's get to that right now.
It ain't coming out firing, hitting the
Oh,
hard,
man.
the hard hitting.
I was going to give Sam a hard
Oh.
time because he saw that yesterday when we were talking about Swayman and said, "Is that where Alaska is on the map?" And I said, "No, Sam, it's not down in northwestern Mexico. It's actually above. They had to move it."
It
But
may
it was
moved
a
it.
sincere question.
I
They
will
moved
say
it.
it does make sense why they put it there on a map, but after living there, that is a gripe a lot of people have about where it is on the map because people don't realize where it's located. You also, until you go there, It's crazy how far it is from the U.S.-Canada border. It's 1,400 miles.
Oh.
So you're so far just from the U.S.-Canada border to get up to, and that's Anchorage, which is the southern part of Alaska. You could go much further north. I think the maps, they're good where they are. You'd have to make the largest maps in the world.
Hey, John, put the map up again. So real quick visual for those watching live on YouTube or watching it later. We're in Dallas, North Texas, right? And if you see Maine, which is the state all the way in the upper right, that's about 1,000-mile drive.
Yeah.
And I've done that. It takes about 3 days, or it's Luddy, it's about a day and a half, because he covers ground fast, as we learned. He went from Dallas to Wisconsin in a single driving shift.
2 tanks of gas.
That's incredible. That's good gas mileage, by the way, for the Jeep.
Yeah.
So you're talking about
you take
another.
the hog? You could have
No.
taken the hog.
I
right?
didn't this time.
Yeah.
No.
So you go over the Washington border in the upper left, and you add 400 miles in addition to my drive to Maine, and that's Alaska.
It's like LA to Dallas, right? I mean, you're basically doing
This is
that.
like a geography
so there you
class
go.
in college.
We lost Luddy already.
Yeah, I don't know how we got here.
Oh,
but
speaking
I'm
of
just
that,
following.
we have a welcome gift we give to all of these.
Oh my god,
It's an autograph.
There's an autograph
It's
too.
autographed right
This
there
is
from
good
Razor, a
because
bobblehead. I'm sure
you
you
know
only
what?
have about 2
I
dozen
actually
of them.
I have a few of these, but he refused to
Are they
autograph
holding up
mine,
your couch
so
or your
now-
table in your living room?
Well, both. I have a lot. Remember, Razor told you he had a whole warehouse full of them.
Yeah.
So anytime we need something stabilizing, and so
Well, if you want
But
something elevated too,
it's
just
good.
stick a
So
slug
you
with it.
use it to
look,
balance.
it's like we're back together.
Yeah.
Like
we gotta
that's
get
all of us.
the close up on that one, John. Here,
Where
Josh,
we go
there
here?
he is.
There
There
we go.
they are.
Look at
Josh
that.
Razor.
Alongside
Look at
Daryl
that
Ray.
button.
I'm Josh Bogorad.
I like the fact that you use it to like balance the leveling when you install a shed in your backyard.
Yeah.
So
well,
that's-
it's versatile.
Yeah,
So-
it is, and it's
Is that your
and
line?
abundant.
Is that your line?
What?
To- alongside Daryl Ray, I'm Josh Bogorad. Is that your every?
It is.
Your every game
Yeah.
line?
Yeah. When we come on the air.
How long did it
Yeah.
take you to come up with that?
Oh my God, 7 years. I was workshopping it for a while. And
Yeah.
so,
What were some of the others?
Did it land? He's him, I'm me was one. I think that finished second.
Yeah.
That, you
Like,
say that a lot.
He's him, I'm me.
Yeah, you
I don't
say
think
that.
I've ever said
You say
that.
he's Sam, I'm Owen.
That's Sam.
Or that's Sam,
I'd
I'm
say,
Owen,
okay,
whatever.
Oh,
but-
look,
that.
liar.
But I
Yeah.
didn't say
Yeah.
I'm me. I've
All right,
never
fair
said
enough.
I'm me on the
Yeah.
show
Oh, I think you
until
have.
now, and it was coerced. So
Okay, well, that
There
was a
we
good
go.
show.
yeah.
Yep. All right,
Thanks for
fun
coming by.
times,
Appreciate
guys.
it.
Thanks,
Thanks.
Josh.
That was fun.
He's like, no Molson
The
for
only,
me?
the
Let's
only
go.
reason Josh
Yeah.
didn't get up right now is because the boom was in
Ask
front
Yeah,
him.
of him.
this is
Josh asked him.
strategically placed. You prisoner your guests in
It's-
here,
it's
like so
like
we
the,
can't run. If we start going off the rails with geography and bobbleheads,
That's why Luddy hasn't left. It's like the
Yeah.
Six Flag. He's been strapped into
Otherwise,
the
Luds would-
roller coaster
Let's
car.
just leave and go on the ice every time.
I'll
we
bust
start talking.
you out, Luds.
Normally, I
Got
have
it.
they put a rag in my mouth too.
All right, so we'll ask our first question since we've been goofy already, and it's fun because we're having a good time. This is one that, as a fellow broadcaster, I always find fascinating. You and I have talked about this off air before, but I'll let all the people listening that may have not heard that story before. How did you get into sports broadcasting?
Yeah, I'm one of those people that knew what I wanted to do from a very early age, and when I was a kid, I wanted to be an NHL play-by-play broadcaster. It's what I wanted to do. Now, the thing about wanting to be an NHL play-by-play broadcaster is back then I had absolutely no idea how to go about doing it. I think that if I had a better roadmap, there probably would have been like a different school I would have gone to. I would have followed a path, but this is something that I wanted to do, and I kind of stumbled my way into some opportunities when I was in high school. It just by happenstance, I got some radio work. I'm from Los Angeles. It was a pretty good market. I got to meet a few people. And then I went to college and just did everything I could possibly do. So if it was, broadcast a game, host a radio show, like anything that you could do, I did. And I compiled just a lousy demo reel that's awful.
Do you still have it?
Oh, we should have that.
It is buried somewhere. I'll tell you just a quick aside. It's on a cassette tape. That's how old I am. You can explain to Sam
what are
what a
those?
cassette tape is.
Josh, let's not go there right now.
So,
I actually
I got
saw-
stuff that I wrote down
This
on a
is
stone
going to
tablet.
make your
Yeah.
head hurt, but I actually saw a TikTok reel that was shared by my wife that apparently cassettes are making a comeback with Gen Z and Gen Alpha.
yep.
Go figure. It's like people getting excited
Don't
about
get me
vinyl.
started on this new generation called
those-
Gen Alpha.
Those jeans
Of
with
all
the big
generations,
bell
Gen
bottoms.
Alpha.
Yeah, no, it was a little
Please.
bit after that.
Well, it's because we
Yeah,
started
I was
with
an, I was
Gen
an
X,
80s
so
kid.
we were
You're
at the
going
wrong end of
70s.
the alphabet.
That's coming back
Alpha.
too, though.
Yeah, I know. Believe me, I know, and it's depressing.
So the best thing for a podcast is having two simultaneous separate conversations going at
I
once
think
and
this is
talking
playing
over
well.
the guests.
I think this is
We're really
playing
good at this.
Try
Try
to
to keep
well.
up, folks.
So long story, a little less long. I made this demo reel, and to answer your question, it is somewhere. I really don't know where it is, but it is somewhere. And Owen, you know this, I'm sure. When you're a young broadcaster, you're starting out. Sometimes you'll send your tape to other people, right? You want some feedback,
Like a
So
critique.
right? So I'll have when I was in the minors, I would have young up and coming broadcasters. They would send stuff. And back then it could be on cassette. It could be on a CD. Now everything's digital, but I'd listen to them sometimes. And, you know, when you're driving, you can play it and just have a chance to listen so you can get back to them. And so one time I was in the car and my wife found this tape and she put it in and she was my girlfriend at the time, but we had been together a while, and she listens to this demo reel of me from my college days, and she's like, "Where'd this guy come from? Who sent you this one?" And I'm like, "That's me." She's like, "Shut up, that is not you." I'm like, "No, it is." She's like, "You were really bad." I'm like, I know, but so that tape is somewhere kicking around. But I took that tape and I sent it, literally put it in like a UPS or a FedEx envelope, and sent actual resumes and demo cassette tapes to every minor hockey league team I could find. They didn't even all have websites back then.
No.
I mean, it was trying to find out who was available, who needed a job. It was.
I mean, the fax machine was still a thing.
Dude, you were definitely faxing.
I mean, they
Like,
still
yeah.
exist, but they were actually part of normal
Yeah.
business.
Oh, this is such a depressing conversation. Like,
Luddy feels right at home, by the way. He's like, I can tell you how to work a fax.
But
No,
but
I-
that's what.
But I'm wondering, when you're talking about all that, why are you giggling down there? You throw me off all the
I'm
time.
just
What
laughing
I
about
was
the
going to
fax
ask you is,
machine over here.
when somebody is going to listen to that audition tape, the first thing that they hear, I'm guessing, is your voice.
Yes.
And you have a deep voice naturally, I'm assuming, or did you have to work on that too?
No, that's not something I
so
worked on.
would that check a box right away? Because I don't know what they look for. I'm just curious.
You know, again, it was not a good tape. So whatever they heard, they heard a lot of not good stuff. I didn't have a ton of experience, but I think that, you know, that is part of it, right? It is the first thing that you hear. And then just through doing this, you don't consciously try and change anything, but voices mature and things change just in your call and in your cadence. But this was when I had so little to pick from. I'd done a handful of games and that's it.
Yeah.
And you just put together a best of, which is this is not a
terrible
best,
demo.
it's a worst of, but it's what you have.
And honestly, I did the same thing, and you just don't know any better. So what you think is a good demo turns into be like, if I heard mine now, which is probably in a box in our attic, and I don't know if the CD still works or not. I did have a
You had a
tape recorder.
CD.
Well,
Look at you, show off.
I know. My first interview device was a tape recorder that I used for my first hockey job. And I made a mistake of the batteries slowed down. And so this tape speed slowed. And then I changed the batteries, and our coach interview sounded like Mickey Mouse. But that's beside the point. But like, you think these little clips are great. You don't actually put a chunk of real play-by-play.
Yeah, right. You don't even know. This goes back to not knowing. You don't even know what.
Buddy's wondering if he needs to be here.
I know, I'm looking at Sam. I'm wondering, we should just go down to Dick's Last Resort. and come back here in 20
No,
minutes or
look,
so.
it's.
Have you met Sam, by the way?
I have. I've
Okay,
actually.
just
Sam
wanna
and I
make
go
sure.
way back.
Well,
And
it
I'll
sounds like
also
it.
I will also just we went right on and started talking about U.S. geography for some reason. I didn't have a chance.
You're lucky. Wait till you hear about Joe Pavelski.
Oh, he got the ding.
There it is. I've watched since you guys have started, and I think you can accuse me of trying to suck up here, Luds, but I think you guys have done great. I think it's a super fun show. I'm enjoying it as a listener.
I don't think I have any cash in my wallet.
Well,
you
we
didn't
can do it off
Okay,
screen.
yeah.
I think I'm happy you guys are doing this. I'm happy for Sam that he's back here. You brought that up, and just to see all you guys back. I've worked with all of you, including Sean, who's somewhere remote right now.
I think the map said Detroit.
Yeah,
Yep,
there he is.
There he is.
But I've worked with all of you in some capacity, and a big fan of you guys. And,
Have they not told
yeah.
you you're doing this weekly now?
Well, no.
You know, like
you're
Sega and those
breaking the
guys
news.
do a weekly
Yeah,
show.
is this what we're doing?
This is kind of weekly thing for
Oh
you.
my God, we're emptying the clip early.
I mean, the first
Fireball
show,
and Coke. That's what we got to
the
offer.
first
oh my God,
show
just
he gets
like us
parking.
at the desk before.
Oh, hang on, Josh.
Yeah,
When you speak, apparently people listen.
sometimes.
The right people.
Oh my goodness!
Oh, no way.
Here we go.
Ben, would you like to come in here for a moment? Would you like to? Would you like to join us?
Oh, wait, I believe,
Oh,
I
no,
believe
From the
was
big guy
Supreme
too.
Overlord.
yeah.
Look at this. Oh my
go,
gosh!
Boss,
Look at this.
he didn't even come out for Razor,
Look
Josh.
at this. Oh, come bearing
Drive him
gifts.
home. No,
Sam, can I see your ID?
I don't have it on
In
me.
case the people
Still
that
Tennessee.
that
Here we
aren't
go.
watching
Thank you.
right now.
Oh my God.
I think our GMS opened
This
that
is
one.
as you said weekly. Cheers, Luds.
Oh, cheers!
Back
Good
at
to
it.
see you, man.
Yeah.
Cheers, boys.
Oh no! Oh no! We have our first. Is this the first DLLS party foul?
I would
First
just
night
like,
with a beer.
I would like to point out that the
Cheers, thank you.
Empire
Look at
Today
this.
flooring
Fantastic,
has handled the
guys.
spill quite well.
I can't wait for the company party with Ben.
Oh,
God,
That was
fantastic.
awesome.
We'll teach him how to
Yeah,
drink.
so
Oh,
weekly
still
sounds
cold,
good,
too.
Luds. I'm in.
That
If
was
this
awesome.
is,
Thanks, guys.
All
I'm
right.
so glad Ben had to open the one that got dropped
Now
on the
Bobby's
floor.
coming over. He
Yeah.
doesn't have one.
Well, they hear.
Abby's coming over.
I think
She
there's a-
doesn't have
there's a
one.
full beer
What's
on the
going
ground
on?
Like
here
a
if
bird
anybody
caller.
wants
You
to,
just hear the cracking sound.
Hey,
They're all. I didn't
seriously,
realize
man.
this office was that big. That's
All right, so this is a great time for
It's
us
a great
to
segment.
take a
And-
moment
Oh
because
my
we're going to
God.
get into much more with Josh in just a moment.
First, let's talk about Rowback. Rowback, my favorite activewear. Rowback is quite simple. It's the best fit and the best feel of all activewear. Quality of gear speaks for itself. The performance polos perform better in heat than any other polos. They won't stick to you like others will. You can use them for the golf course. You can use them for anything. They feel so nice. It's like you're lounging in your pajamas out in the wild. Their everyday shorts are the perfect combo for a day on the move. They look clean, but they have the comfort of the elastic waistband, so they're once again perfect. With fall right around the corner, what better way to prepare for the season than adding one of the incredible Rowback Performance hoodies? They are the softest item they own, and you won't want to take them off ever. Performance polos, performance hoodies, everything's designed for comfort and designed for a life on the move. If you want the perfect blend of comfort, style, and versatility, why wouldn't you? Use the code DLLS20 on rowback.com. That's rowback.com, RHOBACK, for a generous 20% off your first order. 20% off all polos, hoodies, and shorts with the code DLLS20. Make sure to check them out, and they will have you ready for whatever travels or activities you have on the schedule.
Thank you, Sam. It's time to talk about Z-Biotics. And let's face it, after a night or a DLLS Dallas Stars podcast with drinks, I don't know about the rest of these guys, but I certainly don't bounce back the next day the way I used to. Have to make a choice. I can either have a great night or a great show or a great next day. Well, that is until I found Z-Biotics pre-alcohol. Pre-alcohol is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. This is a byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Pre-alcoholic produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to make Z-Biotics your first drink of the night. Drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best tomorrow morning. Go to zbiotics.com/DLLS Stars to get your 15% off your first order. When you use DLLS Stars at checkout, pre-alcohol is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee. So if you're ever unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. That's DLLS Stars at checkout, going to zbiotics.com/DLLS Stars. All right. We weren't even close to the time on that
What a
one, but that's
transition.
okay.
What an excellent transition.
We're having fun.
Josh, it's kind of a shocker. We have a D-Biotics read, don't we, on this podcast?
I just don't know why Owen's reading that one and not you.
Listen,
I got to switch that up.
We're
I have
doing
some
good here.
answers I'll tell you after the
Oh,
show.
okay, fair enough.
But
This is
what are we
good.
gonna go to next?
This reminds me of a production meeting with Luds back in the day.
See?
Was
when
this
we were
part
having
of,
This
fun.
is how we did our best work.
Yep.
I was going to say, was this, so
Intermissions.
we could do a lot on how you got into Corpus Christi, eventually Alaska,
Yeah.
and the Stars here. I don't know if we have enough time for all of it as much as I would like to. But you started in Texas,
Yeah,
and then you went to Alaska.
I did.
I mean, you couldn't get more geographically polar opposite.
No, I thought that was going to be like the longest move I ever had to make. And then I went Alaska back to Texas again and did it in reverse to come to the Stars. But to finish up that, and then we can move on. It was sending out that demo reel. I was going to take the first job that was offered to me. The first job that was offered to me was a team in the Central Hockey League, which isn't a thing anymore. It was in Corpus Christi. They were called the Corpus Christi Ice Rays.
Really great logo.
What year was that? What year was that?
That was 03-04. They were a pro team at the time. They still are in existence down there. They play junior hockey now. They're in the NAHL. And that's where I went. I did freelance gigs while I was doing that. And then eventually, as you mentioned, went to Alaska, which was a crazy move from Corpus Christi to Anchorage. And they were an ECHL team called the Aces. And
But
I did
not a
play-by-play
normal
for 3 years.
ECHL team. I mean, I've never been there, but I remember working in the UHL, defunct league like the CHL now, AA, and then in the AHL. And I always heard stories about Alaska because you guys televised games, you had big crowds. It was not your typical AA experience.
It was a great experience. It was a great experience in the office with the team. It was a great personal experience. That's where my oldest son was born. We have friends that will be friends for life. It was like living in a postcard for 3 years. The most unique experiences. I could have been one of these people that lived to be like 150 years old, never went to Alaska. I wouldn't have lost a wink of sleep. I wasn't one of these bucket lists or you gotta go there. I went there for the job because of all the things that you mentioned. In our line of work, you go where the best job is, and the job was too good to pass up.
Or the only job.
Yeah, sometimes, right? Sometimes the only is the best. So I reluctantly went to Anchorage just because the opportunity was so good. And once we got there, instantly fell in love with it. We tried to go back. We love it. It was the greatest. And then obviously when the opportunity with the Stars came, I moved back down to Dallas, and it's been outstanding.
I thought
ever
the
since.
best part of Alaska at the right time of the year is when you go to the bar and you can come out and it's still light out.
I will tell you. So if you ever
at 2 a.m. it's still light out.
If you've ever been to Vegas, it's the only thing I can liken it to, where you lose track of time, right? You walk outside and you're like, oh my God, it's light, or oh my God, it's dark. Like, how did that happen? Because you spend a lot more time indoors than you realize, and there's no windows. It is wild. The first week that we were there, after my wife moved up, it was actually our first summer, not the first week we were there, but our first summer when the sun started to be that way. It's kind of like this. We're at a restaurant and there's just windows everywhere. And it looks like it does right now as we're recording this at 2:20 p.m. And the sun is shining through. It's a gorgeous day. And all of a sudden, they start vacuuming around you. They're putting the chairs on the tables, like they're closing. Like, man, they must be closing early. And then you look at your watch, it's 11:15. Like, what in the world? And you really have to adjust. I played a round of golf one time. My tee off time was 10:37 p.m.
Wow.
I got all 18 in. It was wild. I just remember the marshal is like, all right, you can go out there. I'm like, that's it? I could just are you really allowed to do this? He's like, yeah, just watch out because around the 8th hole, there's some bears. There's some bears. I'm like, bears? Yeah. I suck at golf to begin with. I need a bear in my backswing.
It's like a mini golf.
It really is a unique, outstanding place. I loved the job. I loved everything about it. But I really did love the city, the state, the people there.
I got chased by a baby moose when I was there. I shouldn't say a baby moose. It was the mama moose. I was trying to get over by the baby moose. It was in the parking lot where our U18 team was playing there. Or no, actually I was with the North American League. And anyway, there was a little moose over there. And it was really icy in the parking lot. All of a sudden I just heard the clunk, 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 and I turned around. Here comes mama. But she couldn't get there to me because it was icy. And she
That's
looked
fortunate
like
because that's a
right in the
really
parking lot of
big
the hotel.
animal.
Oh yeah, no, it was
Yeah.
If you haven't seen one, you don't realize how big moose are, and they're in the road or they're on the side of the road, and eventually after 3 years, they just stop and you're just like in a stare down with the moose, and you're like, all right, guess we might just be here a while. Then you slowly start to move around them, and they just kind of like look at you a little bit, like side eye. It's a cool spot. Good place.
Boy, I almost went on a tangent because I'm from Maine, and we actually have moose crossing signs on some of the roads up there. There's a couple in the southern part of the state, which I'm convinced are for tourism only. But you get up into the northern part of Maine, it's a real thing, and you lose if you ever connect with a moose with your vehicle.
Oh,
Even
yeah.
if you have a full-size truck, you don't want to mess around with that. But
imagine.
Wait, I think Sam tried to say something.
Oh, please,
I said
Sam.
I can imagine. Yeah.
I didn't know you
Dynamite
drop it.
drop it.
I was
Thought
just
maybe
trying
you
to
were
get
just
a
waiting for your
soundbite.
next read. You want to
Get a
get in here
soundbite.
at all?
Yeah. Well, you guys
Please.
just
I haven't said a
Well,
word either.
we have two play-by-play guys in here, guys. We could fill the
this
entire
was a
time.
mistake.
And Luds.
In my defense, I'm just answering questions.
That's right.
I was told.
Oh, I'm starting it. I'll take all the blame. So how did you what was the process
for
that
us
led you to
asking
the
a
Dallas
question.
Stars? From you're in Alaska, you came and became the Stars radio host.
Yeah.
My old job most recently, and you were there for a year before they brought me up because you moved to TV. But how did you come to Dallas? How was that process like?
Yeah, I mean, it was there was an opening. They needed that job. They were making a change. It was becoming something they were transitioning. Bob and Dan had been doing it. And so they kind of moved on from that post. And so they needed someone to do both pre and post and intermission. It was a radio hosting gig. I had done play-by-play primarily up to that point. I had hosted a radio show in Corpus Christi. You know the drill. Like when you are a minor league broadcaster, you do anything and everything. And that means like in broadcasting and out of broadcasting, like you truly
And in the
And
office.
was there anything specific that you had to
you might
be a
have
part
to
of?
ask specifically, Sam.
Yeah.
Sam and I talked about this off the air about some of the more off the wall tasks.
I believe I heard you were part of the selection committee in terms of Ice Girls. Is that right?
I was actually the selection committee. Like when you're in the minors, it's not a part of. Like everything's a one-man operation.
What team was this for?
This was for Corpus, and that was truly the first assignment that they gave me when I moved from LA to Corpus Christi. I did the drive. I had a 2-door Toyota Tercel, and I packed it deep. Me and my brother drove halfway across the country, and what I could fit in the Tercel was what I took, and that was it. And so it was basically like a reality show. Like, if this doesn't fit, well, we're leaving it behind. Like that's what we're taking. And so I get to Corpus. I'm 23 years old, and getting established and figuring everything out. And I think it was my second day on the job. The GM comes in and says, "Hey, we need someone to head up the search for the ice crew." They called them the Ice Girls there too. So you need to go figure out how to do that and what that means. And I'm like,
What do you got to figure out? Like, you got to go.
well,
pick Ice Girls.
I didn't have your number.
Well,
no, there's
if you needed a number, there's the first problem.
No. The thing is, you're picturing one thing, and I was tasked with
I'm picturing
something
the
else.
only thing.
Yeah, believe me, I've spent enough time.
I know
with you.
what the fans
I know.
are looking for.
I know. Well, so here's what we were going to do. The mall, the main mall down in Corpus Christi, was supposed to house open tryouts, and you were going to put on this event. It was a marketing event. This was what they envisioned, but the guy at the mall didn't want it to be done. So the GM wanted it. So then I had to call the guy at the mall, and he's like, "Yeah, I don't really want to do this." And so you had to convince them what it was going to look like. And then you had to go and find out where you could get the correct number of applicants and all of this. And so Sam got this story, and basically it was the perfect introduction into what being like a minor league play-by-play guy is, because you do everything other than call a hockey game just so you can, a few times a week at 7 p.m., actually get to call a hockey
It's literally
game.
the last priority on your
Right.
list.
So when you were asking earlier about the demo reel and them listening, I found out after the fact, after I got my job in Corpus Christi, that the GM never listened to the demo reel. And it's probably the greatest thing for me, because if he had, he would have chucked it right out of them. Like, and he just wanted someone that was willing to take on a bunch of tasks, can kind of be a jack of all trades, get a lot of things done. So whether it was, a publicity stunt at a mall where you're trying to assemble a dance team, or figuring out a brand new website and email server for the office staff of 7 people, like, and everything in between. It's like, all right, let's see if Josh can do it. And there were enough things that I was able to do along the way. And
Brings back some great memories.
like, Owen's blushing because he knows, like, it's you find anybody that worked in the ECHL, CHL, UHL, the like
Minor league baseball,
WCHA2, all the
all
independent
that
baseball
stuff.
leagues.
Yeah.
You feel like if they actually did itemize your priorities, play-by-play wouldn't even crack the top
Until the
50.
game started, it was the last thing you could focus on.
Yeah.
Well,
And then the game
for
started,
sure.
and then you couldn't be bothered for a little while, and that was actually
You
the
could
escape.
still sometimes
Oh,
be
well,
bothered.
it's my
Some
first-
guys call that.
Yeah.
My first gig in sports broadcasting was with an independent baseball team in Massachusetts, and I was actually part of the tarp crew, meaning in the middle of the
Knock your
game,
tarps off.
I had to say,
That's
not
what-
not
yeah.
that Shorzy, hang
Yeah.
on.
Oh, sorry.
As
That
I
was
had-
the unofficial tarp crew.
if the rain started and we were at home and the crew, which is just all the kids that were interns from college, ran out toward the tarp, I had to send it back to the studio, say, we'll be back, play some music. And I had to run
No
down a
way.
gangplank, down the ladder, through the grandstand, hop the side, and go help pull the tarp in the rain, cover the field, walk soaking wet back up, and then go, okay, let's go back and we'll do rain delay coverage, and then go back and help take the tarp off. So yeah.
in Alaska, the first game of the regular season that I did, we did 2 preseason broadcasts. Our first regular season game, we're affiliated with the St. Louis Blues. And with the Aces, I was also the team services guy. So I would do travel and all the other things, players coming in, players going out, working on immigration and all the things that go into signing players. And we're affiliated with the Blues. We had a really good defenseman for our level who was sent down it was Peoria, was the AHL
The
affiliate,
Rivermen.
who are no longer around as a pro team anymore. And so Peoria had sent a player down. He was a Blues contract, and he was outstanding for the level that we were at. So we knew that he wasn't going to be around for a long time, but he was going to start the year there, and a really good defenseman. In the middle of the game, I get an email from the Blues front office. Hey, we've had some injuries. We're calling this guy up. I need you to get him on a flight immediately after the game. We're playing on, it was either a Friday or a Saturday night, and Anchorage, with the crazy time and location, red-eye flights are very common. So you can finish a game and get a guy out that night. So it's ASAP. I get this email.
And you're on the
We're
air?
in the middle of the game. So I get this email during an intermission report. And it's like, we need to get a flight booked for him ASAP. So during intermission, while we're in commercial breaks, and I'm coming back and doing intermission segments because you're not tossing it to anyone. There
is nobody
There's
else.
no
Yeah.
color analyst. There's no pregame. There's no intermission. You are the only one. And so while we're calling the game, like during commercial breaks, I booked a flight for this guy. The head coach of the team didn't know. The player didn't know. The GM didn't know. No one knew except for Peoria and me. He winds up scoring the overtime winner of that game. Like, fans are going crazy. It's opening night. You get a win. The coach with the Aces, he would always come up for a live post-game conversation, an interview, because I'm still on the air and you're basically the only press. So we would do on the air as part of a post-game show an interview. He comes up while we're on the air, so you don't even have time to go to break. So you can't even toss it to commercial break. We do the entire interview, only then go to commercial, and he takes his headset off, and I'm like, hey, by the way, he just got called up. He's on a flight in 2 hours. You need to tell him right now that he needs to pack up all of his stuff. And so I'm laughing. I'm listening to you say, usually for the 3 hours on the air,
Usually.
you wouldn't even get that.
Jeez.
Sponsors, because you were also a salesman, like sponsors would come up and give you payment while you're on the air, like in the old check days when it wasn't digital. Like, it was the things you would do on, off, before, after broadcasts. It was the wildest ride. It was the craziest thing. Like, half of it feels fictional.
So is it safe to say you like where you are now?
I love where I am, but I love where I am right now. How could you not? Like this
Well,
is
you're working with
this,
Drazer.
right? Of course,
Okay.
that's what I meant. I wasn't even talking about the
Oh,
job,
okay.
right? Like here he is.
All right.
No, I love everything about where I am right now and what I get to do. This is it's so Hallmarkish, so I apologize, but it literally is a dream come true. Like there's no way you couldn't love every minute of it. And I feel grateful, and I'm so happy. Every single show we do, every broadcast, I'm going into my 7th year now. I try and take a moment during a commercial break, and I'll stare around the arena, whether we're home or on the road, and I'll just pick out like 2 people in the top nosebleed sections, like the very last row of whatever we're arena, and I will just key in and look at them and realize that those people are so happy to be here. Like those people were probably talking about getting to go to this game all day, maybe all week, maybe all month. And this might be the only one they get to go to. And I'm at work, right? Like, I mean, that's fairy tale stuff. And this will be 7 years. I'll do it every game this year. As long as I'm fortunate enough to do this job, I'll do that every single game because I never want to lose sight of that because I remember what it was like to be in that seat, stare down and wonder if one day I'd get to call a game. Like you used to watch and wonder if one day you'd get to play, right? I used to watch and wonder if one day I'd get to call those games. And so the fact that you're doing it. But all that being said, I loved where I was then too, right? I would never want to go back to some of those things, but I love those stories. I love that experience. And I love the winding road that took me from there to getting to sit with you guys and talk about it.
Let's get into the Dallas Stars aspect of your career in just a moment. But first,
we're going to talk about Empire Today because Empire Today is the best flooring out there. Empire is your one-stop shop for flooring. You get shop-at-home convenience, you get the right product for your needs, quick professional installation, and a low price guarantee. Empire Today is the best place to get new flooring, so of course they're going to have copycats, but Empire can't be beaten on quality, service, or speed, so competitors will advertise low-quality products that Empire simply won't carry. Empire won't promise the lowest prices because anyone who does is putting flooring in your home that they would not put in theirs. They keep shopping for floors simple. They have an awesome virtual floor designer where all you got to do is take a picture of your room and see what the flooring will look like in that room. They also have a beautiful jingle, 800-588-2300, Empire. Thank you.
all you got to do is get a little drink in him and he'll sing.
Crooning and
literally
everything. Look at that.
Beer. A sip of beer will do it.
Play the tunes.
A thimbleful is enough for
Schedule
Sam.
a free in-home estimate today. All listeners of this show can receive $350 off discount when they use the promo code DLLS. That's DLLS for $350 off discount. Empire Today. Restrictions apply. See empiretoday.com/DLLS for details.
And the flooring holds up even when your GM spills beer all over it. It'll be fine. Let's talk about FOCO. It is one of the best outfitters of sports gear around. Hoodies, shoes, signs, bobbleheads, and everything in between. If you're going to a basketball or hockey game, show off your love with a team-branded friendship bracelet. That's Sam's personal favorite. Jackets, beachwear, even overalls. Luddy loves the overalls. He loves the bathing
They're called
suits.
bibs.
There's something for every fan and almost every occasion. They've been doing it since 1998. Check out FOCO.com or click the link in the description below, which is on YouTube if you're watching live with us. For all non-presale items, use the promo code DLLS10 for 10% off. That's DLLS10 for 10% off of everything FOCO. All right. Luds?
No, I think we should let Sam speak because all he's getting to do is advertise
And
reads
sing.
today.
And sing. But he did a great job.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
thank you.
Sammy.
Appreciate it. Yeah. So I'll save the question that I know is coming for
Okay.
after.
Yeah,
There's
we
no
had-
collusion here,
We
by
had
the
a
way.
pre-production
Yeah,
meeting kind of
Josh and I
this
had our own
morning.
meeting.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
what is you can answer this either way. Either your favorite moment you've ever called or your favorite actual call itself. Could be the same answer.
I don't have a favorite call. I really
Bad question.
don't. No, it's a great question. It's probably a bad answer on my. I'll take the blame for that. But I think my favorite moment. There's a few, and there's probably a tie. My first year was 18-19 doing play-by-play, and that was the year that Klingberg scored the Game 6 overtime winner.
Nashville.
And they upset Nashville. They weren't supposed to win, And that was my first Stanley Cup playoff series that I got to call. And that was where our telecasts end because we continue on with radio.
Well,
but
that was last moment
that
on
was
TV
that was
year.
the end of our TV season. That was the end of my first TV season. And to have it end that way, I'm telling you, I get goosebumps right now. I will never forget what the American Airlines Center sounded like when that puck hit the back of the net. It was so great. Like, it was so cool. And so that will always forever probably be near the top of the list. One day, and maybe in 9 months or so, the Stars are gonna get to the top of the mountain. That's a call that, like, hopefully I'm lucky enough to get to make.
Have you practiced it?
No, I haven't. I get that
be,
question a lot.
You're not going to practice. Is it just going to be spontaneous?
So I mean, look, they were 6 wins away each of the last 2 years. You certainly start to think about it. But I think that that's not something that you can plan in advance, because it's also, a lot of people talk about planning out certain things and you don't know how games are going to end, right? A game could end 5-0 and it's kind of a victory lap where you have 30 seconds to land the plane of a call, or it could be holding on to a 2-1 lead. It could be a triple overtime goal in Buffalo in the wee hours of the morning. Like, you don't know what it's going to be. So you can't really prepare for a call. And every story's kind of different, right? If the Stars win it this year, it would probably be different than if they were to win it 12 years ago or even 5 years ago. So you kind of just naturally, like, let that story unfold. I mean, if we go into a game where they're in that position, of course I will have thought about it. But I don't think you can plan it.
Don't you want some of that too, though? Like, I feel like that's some of the excitement. I remember some of your calls. I want to say it was Kiwi Ranta's triple or double overtime, whatever overtime goal, and those calls are from natural response.
Oh yeah,
as well,
like you.
Right?
I promise you, I wasn't waking up that morning walking into Las Colinas with razor, like, antiseptic soap everywhere, and wearing masks in between periods, thinking, you know what? I think that guy that's coming in for Andrew Cogliano might have a hat trick, including the overtime game winner in Game 7. Like, you can't plan for that. And then, so you're asking about memorable calls. That was Gurionov sending him to the Cup final. Yep. Like, I grew up hearing that Stefan Matteau call from Howie Rose, like, ringing in my ears. Like, I grew up on the West Coast, and that call made the rounds, and that's how, like, crazy a call could be. That was a conference final winning call. So, like, when we got off the air and the Stars had made the Bubble Cup final, that's what I was thinking. I was like pinching myself. Like, that was a Matteau moment, right? Yeah. That was the goal, overtime to advance. And I mean, geez, the Bubble had so many just insane goals, insane moments. The Game 7 against Vegas last year, I think, was the only time I've heard American Airlines Center louder than that Klingberg goal. Like, that was such an awesome atmosphere. There have been overtime goals along the way to stay alive. The Duchesne goal that eliminated the Avalanche. Yep. It's been a fun ride for Stars fans. It's been a fun ride for me.
So you said early in this that you knew what you wanted to do when you were a young kid. So, like, for us, and this did not happen to me, just for the record, but for young kids that are hockey players, you're always thinking about scoring the overtime goal, right?
Oh,
in
yeah.
the championship game and all that kind of stuff. Did you dream of, I mean, were you thinking, like, you were dreaming of making that big call when somebody won? Really?
Absolutely. And it's probably so foreign for you to think about because you were a player, but it really was the same. And look, I loved playing sports. Like, I still love playing sports. I love getting out there with friends and my kids. And if I would have been a good enough hockey player, then I would have loved to have done that probably more than call a game. Yeah. I grew up in LA and I was not good enough to be a major league athlete. So I had 2 pretty big strikes going against me.
Your parents didn't get the RV and drive you around to hockey practice?
I never got that. My parents, I actually had to introduce hockey to my folks instead of the other way around. And by that point, I was playing roller hockey in Venice Beach, like when I was 13 and 14.
That's actually an interesting
That's where
thing.
I learned how to skate. It wasn't on ice.
How did you get into hockey in Southern California?
I'll tell you,
that age?
I was a kid in grade school. God, I hang around Canadians. It's elementary school. But
just don't say in your grade 5
I've been in
year.
hockey too much. I was not in grade 5. I was in 5th grade. but yeah, so I was in elementary school, and a friend of mine, his uncle had season tickets to the LA Kings, and I went to a Kings game at the old Forum. I don't even know
Did
if
you
it
go
was
to the Forum Club.
I actually did get to go to the Forum, not that day because I was 8. I wouldn't have known what to do with myself.
You're not from Wisconsin.
Yeah, that's a fair point. But I have been in the Forum Club many a times, and that's a pretty outstanding place. But I went to a game. I don't know if I was 8. I don't know if I was 7, whatever I was. And I just remember loving sports at the time, but that was my first game and just thinking this. I want more of this. I got to come back. And I didn't know the rules. I didn't know anything about it. I had to learn more. I was 8 years old. So it was before this. I was 8 years old when Gretzky got traded. And then all of a sudden, more games were on television. More people were talking about it, which I didn't really necessarily get swept up in that wave. I found it earlier, but then information was more accessible. Again, if you wanted to know what icing was, you couldn't just Google it. Like you had to find someone that knew that could explain it to you. And no one I knew knew what icing was. So you're kind of like learning the sport. And I think that's why I love where I am in Dallas, because I kind of learned hockey from the play-by-play broadcaster. That's how I got most of my information. I watched the game and I learned it that way. And then obviously I'd start to play roller hockey. I start to meet other people. I learned more about the sport and it became this lifelong passion of mine. But there isn't a year that goes by that I've been here, whether it was as a host on radio, TV, or now play-by-play, that a Stars fan doesn't come up to me at a game or somewhere around town and say, I went to my first game earlier this year and oh my goodness, it's amazing. And I'm like, I know, because from experience, I know what that feeling is like. And I will never get sick of hearing that. You want to use the words non-traditional market, whatever it is. The fact that every year there are people who are discovering this sport in this city is the coolest thing to me. And if our broadcast and our calls can even play the smallest role in helping them get there or helping them fall in love with the sport, it's literally why I'm here. Like, I love the idea that that's happening.
I want to ask you about the fans, but after this.
It's me. Yep, it's me.
You said
That
it
camera.
again.
I said it again.
With him, it's me.
Yeah, but it's not he's him, I'm me. We're not doing that. Look, this is about DLS becoming a diehard. Whether it's great content like watching Josh come and join us in studio or reading some of the wonderful written articles that we see on the alldls.com website with Sam or Sean. Some of them are behind the diehard paywall. So become a diehard. It's an annual subscription, $79.99 per year. Each year that you sign up to be a diehard, we'll give you a free promo code to get a free t-shirt. Any one of the ones on the merch site of our website doesn't expire. You can wait if there's one, like, for example, if we decide to make a Luddy's Damn Discord channel shirt and it hasn't come out yet, you can save it until it comes out and then get that one as your free shirt. And you get one each year you sign up. Plus, not only do you get the access to the diehard content on Discord, you also get ad-free content on the website, 20% off all merch. You have a member card, events that will be coming up, all of that. You go to alldls.com/join-diehard. Just go to the website and click on the diehard and you will get to that. In fact, today we're going to go to some of our diehard Discord questions for a little overtime. If we can keep Josh a couple minutes. And we'll ask your questions to Josh.
Give him a beer. We can keep him as long as we want.
I don't think there's any left.
Did you drink mine?
If I could have reached it, I would have.
I'm surprised.
I was wondering why you got it way over there.
You can have the 7/8 that I have.
I got your gum next to me. That's
or my
enough.
chewed gum. You can have that too.
So that is a great aspect of becoming a diehard. And of course, as we continue to grow our show and all the shows here at DLLS, we'll have ticket takeovers where we actually get a bunch of tickets and bring diehards with the hosts to games like a Stars game at the AAC. We'll have watch parties where we'll go somewhere, watch and do our show from that. It will be a lot of fun. So make sure you join in, be part of the community that is supporting Dallas sports, whether it's hockey, basketball, you name it. And we can name the other sports too. So
sports. Oh, hey, we got a super chat.
We have a super chat. You can do a
In
Joe Pavelski,
one
Jason
font.
Robertson, which is 16.21 from Ardell. Reset that Joe Pavelski counter. He did that on purpose. He knew I was going to say that.
Yep.
Josh, how do you approach calling the opponent's goals and good play fairly? I think it matters to the integrity of the call.
It's a good question. And the funny thing about broadcasting is it's so subjective, and some people want to hear something different than other people want to hear. And I remember early on in my career, I sent the same demo reel to 2 different people. And one of them said, I like what I hear, but I feel like you're holding back. There's another gear that you can hit. And then the other person listened to the same reel and said, I heard it and it was all right, but I feel like maybe you're forcing it a little bit if you could rein it in. And they listened to the same thing. And I found it was frustrating at the time, but then with some clarity, it was such an important thing for me in my career, because you realize everyone's going to hear whatever they want to hear, and you're never going to be able to give everybody what they want, because it's not the same thing. So that it's a really good question, Ardell. For me, I never wanted to be just like an outright homer. I mean, if you listen to Stars broadcasts, I don't think you're confused about what team is
Bruins,
getting the lion's
Red
share,
Wings,
right? I think that you can understand that it is a Star-centric broadcast, and you can hear in my voice big goals. But I never wanted to be the guy where it sounds like your dog died, like when the other team scores.
And there's quite a few of them out there,
and
especially in the minors.
Some people want that. I think there's some Stars fans that probably want that, and that doesn't make them wrong. But I always felt like, from a technical aspect, that's a really hard thing to do, because a really big goal for the other team could just as easily be a really huge Jake Oettinger save.
Right.
So if you're going up to the moment and you're trying to like let that moment just evolve naturally, and here he comes and scored.
Yeah.
Like then you're dropping off a cliff, because when Oettinger makes that save, you want that same buildup. For me, again, this is just an opinion. Other people have it. I call the game the way I would want to hear it. And when good things happen for the Stars or bad things happen for the Stars, I fully recognize that people are feeling a lot in that moment. I just think that my call, what I'm trying to do is match what's happening on the ice, the feeling on the ice, the feeling in the rink, and that's the way I approach stuff.
Isn't
like
that kind of how the organization feels about it too? Because it seems to me, I remember, I don't know if it was Vito or Walshy, it could have been Razor, saying we don't treat this like a hometown game. It's more like a national broadcast.
And I think they mean that in a couple of different things, and I think it's true. I think the way they produce a game has a national feel to it, because they're so good at what they do.
Yeah.
I mean, the crew behind the scenes does such an exceptional job. So they don't want to make mistakes. They don't want errors coming up. They want big production. They use, like when we're going to break, when we're coming out of break, they use elements that maybe other regional broadcasts aren't using as much. So I think stylistically, aesthetically, there's an element to that. And then I think there's what you're saying with the way the game is called. Now, to the Stars' credit, from the moment that they moved me into this position, they've never told me how to call a game. They kind of hired me and allowed me to do it. I think if I was doing something that really was opposed to, I maybe would get that instruction. But I think that's the way Razor is. I think that's part of what makes him, for my money, like, and a lot of people's, he's the best analyst 100%. In the sport. Like, he's fantastic at what he does, because it's multi-layered. He's clever. He's funny. He also sees the game really well. He'll tell you things that aren't easy to pick up when you're watching. And he's always, he predates me for a long time on Stars telecasts, and he has done it that way. And that naturally is how I've always called the game, whether I was in the minors or now here. And so I think that those styles mesh well, because it's not for me to tell the audience when to be sad.
Yeah.
It's they can easily get there on
Did the
their
guys
own.
in the truck, though, give you the secret code words?
I know what you're talking about. No. So I'm with you. Listen, we need a lot more beer, and we could just go carving. So I didn't get it. Until the words have been said a long time, and I'm like, guys, where was this 4 months ago? Like, I needed that
you
help.
Hit the button and you look at him like, what the hell does that mean? Purple hooter? What is a purple hooter? Like, we talked about this as Razor. I mean, there's the code word, and I don't know which one it is, but it's like the big boss is in the truck.
Yeah.
Well, I
Yeah.
don't know what the hell that meant. Nobody
Yeah.
filled me in on it. You know, they didn't need to.
No,
I didn't know
no.
what
So
was going
look,
on
I was
anyways.
getting the same rookie treatment you were. By
Yeah.
the time I found out, it was well after the fact.
So it's funny you talked about the fans and feeling sad specifically because growing up, so I was a Stars fan living in New Jersey. So a lot of the games were later on, especially when they go out to the West Coast. Before center ice and all those things, I was listening to NHL radio. That's how I would watch all the games or listen to all the games. And there were a few where you couldn't split the broadcast like you can now on the radio. You couldn't get the Stars local broadcast. So I wasn't getting any. I was getting the local team, which was, let's say, Philly or Boston, someone like that. I legitimately couldn't tell when the Stars would score. I would pull up this big comfy chair in front of the computer, listen to NHL radio, and I'd be listening, and did he score?
Yeah, because it kind of just passes.
He would just
along.
kind of, they would kind of just end the shot
like a
and
neutral
score,
zone
and it's
pass.
1-1. I'm like,
yeah, and that's not what I ever wanted to do. And I say this anytime I'm asked about the way I broadcast, or I can't say it enough times. I'm not right. Nobody's right. There's not a right way to do this. It is such a personal medium. It's such a subjective thing. And I always think back to that story of those two guys telling me the counter things, listening to the same thing. So all you can do is call the game that you feel is best. And I never wanted you to not know a goal had happened, right? As much as I would love to take it back and wish that goal hadn't happened. We were talking about all the overtime winners that the Stars have had in the playoffs. There have also been some overtime losses. There have been some series-ending goals that have gone against Dallas. I think if you ever go back and listen to the two together, you will not have any question of, it's a Stars broadcast, but it also... the other ones won't sound like either you didn't know what was happening or I was just miserable, even if internally, like maybe I was.
yeah.
Josh talked about, possibly in 9 months from now, you could be making that call. We had a thing the other day, into the team and where they are. We had some people put lines together and stuff like that. What they thought line combination. Did you see it?
I did. I actually thought
well, there
Sean
goes
told me
that bit.
Sean told me we were coming for. Oh, I didn't see. I just heard you talking about. Sean told me I was coming here for 80 minutes of just discussing lines
Just
with Luddy.
lines.
Yeah, just you and
And
me.
Sean was really upset about it too.
He did not like the line
Who's
conversation.
Sean?
No,
Keep going.
Sean.
Hey,
It's good.
don't,
Wait.
don't end the bit.
Yeah,
Finish it off.
No, I don't.
He's excited now.
Continue on.
No, I wanted to get your opinion because we have them up here.
Yeah.
There's a couple there. I just wanted you to look at the lines that they have there. And
This is one of our diehard suggestions that Sean was really upset about. Not the content, just the fact that we were even discussing lines in preseason.
I think we're there. Five,
Yeah,
6 of the
right.
way done.
What else are we supposed to
You
talk
could
about?
do it, right? Pete said that last game, and we'll find out tomorrow, but that last game was going to look close to an NHL lineup. This is about the time. It's tough to do when there's 58 people in camp and who's skating with who, and guys are off and injured and maintenance days. The thing that sticks out to me with that is it's a hell of a lineup. Yeah. It's a really, really good lineup. That top line's very intriguing because you could either have Hintz or Johnston on the wing, and like that could rotate a little bit.
So I think Hintz is in the middle. I just think that Johnston takes faceoffs on the right side.
I think they'll both take faceoffs.
Yeah, I think
and
you'll
we've
see
seen
Hintz on
that-
the left.
We've seen that all the
for
time.
their strong sides.
Yeah. The Ben with the kids is intriguing because it's worked well with other kids in the past. The Sagan Duchesne Marchment line. I mean, you've got a line that it quite honestly was the best line in the NHL for the middle third of the season, and that's part of a three-headed monster up top. And then on the fourth line, you've got really talented players who can also move up if you need to spackle every once in a while.
And you have at least 4 or 5 that could make that final spot, the 12-13 spot, and not necessarily one better than the other, all a little bit different, but all capable of playing in that NHL role.
Yeah, and the Texas Stars are going to be loaded.
Yeah.
I know Bichsel has grabbed a lot of headline. You love him, right?
I did. I'm on the fence right
Are you?
now. Well, only because I see little things that I think a little maturity is going to help him with, and I don't know if you throw him into the deep end of the pool right away, where I think maybe Texas is a good spot for him to, get a little more of that.
And that's kind of what I'm hoping Stars fans realize, that if you go that route, even if it's some of your favorites on the fringe up front, if it's Bichsel or some of the kids up front, if they're not here on October 10th, That doesn't mean that they weren't ready, and it doesn't mean that they are not going to be here later this season. I think that long game perspective is important. This is a hell of a lineup to try and crack, and I look at that and the fact I agree with you. I think that's kind of the way it shakes out. Those forward lines look like that, but the ones that don't make it, their time is coming, and it's the cupboards are deep.
How do you look at Nils after coming off of last year?
Yeah,
because that's kind of the hard one for me from both sides, from the management side and from the player side.
Do you know how many regular season games he's played the last 2 years?
40.
It's 119.
Really?
Yeah, I think people would be surprised to know that.
Well, I am right now.
Right?
I'm surprised.
I think you are a man of the people, Luds. You're right.
Surprised.
It's 119.
The difference is not all of those are the same number of minutes as a guy like Miro.
No. But I think
he has been in a lot of games.
I think because of what's happened in back-to-back postseasons, I do think that people would have guessed more around the 40 or 50 games.
60 and 59.
And that's 119, right?
Yep.
I carried the one.
No, you got it.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you
Buddy,
meant
you got
in a
math
season.
already. It's okay.
No. In total.
I didn't mean total. I meant like
seasons.
I thought you played 40
To play
games last year.
119 in one season would be quite
I don't
quite
read
the
it,
Lions.
but what you
Very
don't
long.
understand is I generally don't listen to even
That's
the
a fair
question. I
point.
just kind of throw something out. there.
You know what? I'm. This is all very reminiscent. I
Exactly.
remember that.
We've been
Well,
here,
it's
done
funny.
this.
I'm so glad
Yeah.
you brought up Bichsel because we actually have a clip to play that I think you'll appreciate.
Uh-oh.
What's your name?
Okay, Lian Bichsel.
What do the guys call you?
Bish.
So that was from the Stars account the other day, and Josh and I have had this conversation off the air. We've talked about it on our show because last year, and I believe even when he was drafted, he told us it sounded like Bichsel. And then Josh does the first game on Victory Plus, which we have to talk about that too. But before we get to that, you started saying Lian Bichsel, and I went, no, that's not how we've been told for the last couple of
I'm
years.
getting buzzed here.
so
I'm getting buzzed on.
That's actually a
DLLS.
buzzer for if we screw up Bichsel
Oh, I wasn't part of
by
that.
saying
There it is.
Bichsel.
There it
No,
is.
this is a new bit we were going to play around with.
They don't tell
So
us.
we haven't
you know
gotten it
that?
wrong.
Did
You
you know
haven't
any
gotten
of
it
this?
wrong since.
I guess
So
you got to be here to know what's going on.
This is a big thing for guys like us, play-by-play guys
Yeah.
particularly, of getting the name right.
Yeah. And I'll pull back the curtain a little bit. Hockey players in the room, and you know this, Luds, they want to rock the boat as little
possibly
as,
not.
as possible, right? Like they really, I mean, I've walked up to guys, I always want to know, how do you pronounce your name? Because I want to say it the way you want it said, which is usually the way you say it. And so many of them, there's a European contingent, they're nice, they're usually young, so they don't feel like they're in a position to step into a room and make any sort of demands on, like, you could call them anything. Yes, okay, yes, just happy to be here. And so you sometimes, as strange as it sounds, you have to coerce a guy to tell you how they pronounce their names. How do you pronounce it? However you want. No, I get that, but like, what would you say?
It drives
I'm
me
good.
nuts.
Well, is it this way or this way? Either one works. And I'm like,
Yeah,
okay.
it's great.
So
Thanks.
what I always say is, how would you say it if you're introducing yourself to someone? And if you can't get an answer, how would your mom say it if she was going to introduce you? Because mom's always right. And with him, again, like you mentioned, in years past, we had heard directly that it was Bichsel. But I do think that with his native language, there's something different that he would do. That
There's an exhale.
yeah, and so
in the syllable.
right,
Yes.
and so if you're not going to be able to do it that way, so you want to try it? Do that
Go
again,
ahead,
Sam.
try it out.
It's like a big hole.
Yeah,
It's
all
not
right.
quite so much
So it's
like you're
Bichsel.
hawking a loogie.
Like a loogie.
What you go there?
So what I heard, I actually bumped into him last week at the Comerica Center in the morning. I was there early for my older son's JV hockey practice for
if
high
you
school.
bumped into him, you didn't
Young
win
hockey.
that fight.
No.
But he couldn't have been sweeter.
It was
He's
a pleasant.
super nice guy.
He is a really nice
and
guy.
Josh and I had the conversation the day before, so it was fresh in mind. I said, listen, I know what Josh said, but I'm stubborn. I just want to hear it from you. And he said, well, it's kind of like Bichsel, except for there's not so much of a, it's more of a bich. It's that exhale, so Bichsel.
Bichsel.
But
And so that's what I heard, but he's like, please say Bichsel.
right,
He was insistent, but very polite.
He's literally making a request.
Yes.
This is how I want it. This is how I want it. And again, I'm in no position to tell anyone. I mean, look, we came on the air. It was Sam trying to figure out how to pronounce my last name, right? I mean, this is a very close to home thing for me. I've heard everything you can imagine.
I'm sure you've heard a lot of mispronunciations.
I gave up correcting people 20 years ago when I married my wife, and she changed her name from a very common maiden name to mine. I would listen to her on the phone. She's like, no, it's Bogorad, like correcting people. I'm like, that's cute. You'll get over that in about 10 years.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
And so I want to do what the player wants to do. I think that's what we owe the player, right? When you score a big goal, when you make a big hit, when you make a play of the game, like, you deserve to have your name pronounced the way you want it, which is the way he wants it. So until he tells me otherwise, he's Lian Bichsel. I understand all the people out there with the confusion. It also maybe it makes sense why the Andre Sekaras and Sekaras and like
Dadonov.
and Dadonov and Dadanov and
But they're
and
the ones that are
Cogliano,
changing it 2
right,
years later.
Right.
Yeah.
So but again, if a player wants to be called something, I get the confusion on the part of the fan side, and I look, how long have we been talking about this? The game moves pretty fast. We don't have the time to lay out this exact story on the air during play.
Trickiest part
we tried to let people know we talked to him. This is how he wanted it. But yeah, and the way he wants it is the way he deserves to have it pronounced.
They never did answer my question
And the
about
tricky
defense
part-
pairings, did they? They just went right by it.
Well, we
They're about
I was,
Mills,
I-
and
we
next
want to
thing
get
you
to
know,
that.
we're talking about
Look,
Bish
again, I'm just following where it goes.
It's hard to
But-
reprogram your brain, though, as a play-by-play guy, because you start doing things on autopilot as you're thinking about what you're going to say, what's going on. And if you get used to saying a name a certain way, or I don't know about you, but I'll even, when you first see somebody's name, sometimes you'll read it and try to figure it out before you see a pronunciation guide or hear it. And sometimes that can throw you off because you've just sort of told your brain, it sounds like this, and then they get corrected. And that can be tricky to over.
Yeah.
You really have to hammer that out.
Yeah.
Luds, you want to ask him the question again?
no, I'm curious about the pairings.
Yeah, I think that the biggest question mark going in is Nils. And I think that given where he is, the fact that he re-signed with the team in the offseason, I think there's some really good competition for that number 6 spot. But I do think that he probably starts there as the guy. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean he stays there as the guy. I mean, look, the pairings look wonderful in preseason, and I love the idea. I mean, I've never heard a lead up to a season with so much emphasis on what side a defenseman is playing on, but for good reason, because you think about what the ceiling could be with Miro on his left and that marriage with Dumba and what it could look like. But I think Nils decided to come back. The organization decided to bring him back. There's a reason there. Like we would still see it. There's that there.
It had to be a conversation, I would assume, between Jim, Nils, and would Pete be part of that? Because Pete was kind of the one that limits and doesn't limit minutes in playoff hockey.
Yeah, well, like the way they say, they always talk, right? They're always talking with each other. And I think there's a lot of collaborative decisions that go into that. I think that, Nils is still a younger defenseman. I don't know that he's a young defenseman by definition anymore, but still on the younger side. And I always think, Rope Hintz is who Rope Hintz is right now. And again, this is not a comp, but it's just an interesting story. Remember, Rope Hintz was like stuck on 9 goals, 8 goals for the longest time, and you would see the tools there, and you would see that blazing speed. And then there was this one Monday in Buffalo where he had a 2-goal game, and he was the best player on the ice, and it wasn't even close. And it was like, wait a second. Like, what was that? And it was like an epiphany, and he never stopped. Yeah. Like from that, go back and trace it. It was a game in Buffalo, a 2-goal game,
and he had been up and down with the AHL roster several times.
He found the code. Yep. Like he found the code at KeyBank Center, and it just like it never ever looked back. And so there's some guys that can do that, and I think that look. With a D core like that, a forward group like that, there's going to be guys that are going to be given an opportunity. That means an opportunity to hang on to a job and an opportunity to take a job. And depending on who you are and what side of that fence you live, but he's back here because he has an opportunity. But I don't know. I'd be lying to you if I told you we're going to be sitting here December 1st, 2 months into the season, and know how it's going to play out. Yeah. Like the old line is the players will determine that. And I'm really excited to see it, because there's a lot of motivation obviously, for what you can do. And if it all comes together, that's just another weapon.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to pivot here because I do want to ask you about Victory Plus. Since we've already gone over and haven't even mentioned it, but what we've talked a bunch about it, right? We talked to Razor. We've heard different stories. What are you most excited about for this?
That people can watch us. Like, I mean, it really is that simple. I can't tell you how frustrating it was for all of us the last couple of years. I've got 2 kids who play hockey, so I'm at the rink all the time when I'm not at the rink with the Stars, and people would come up and show their frustration. It's hard to watch, and it's difficult, and we've heard it. Like, we've heard all of that. And so the fact that now anybody that wants to watch us can watch us, and I really didn't think, it's kudos to Brad Alberts and the entire team and Neil Greninger and Jason Walsh and everyone for coming together and making this happen, because not only have you given Stars hockey to everybody, but you've done it absolutely free. And the 2 biggest complaints that you'll get when it comes to television in general, especially sports, but when it comes to just watching in general, the 2 biggest issues are it's difficult to get or it's so expensive. Mm-hmm. And the Stars found a way that seemed kind of impossible to make it available to everyone at absolutely free. And it couldn't be a bigger home run. Now, along with that, I think it gives us the freedom and flexibility to do some fun things, to do some unique things. And that doesn't mean that day 1 of the season, we're going to just unfold all of this. And yeah, like it's not that. But it gives you runway. It gives you creative control. It gives us the control to do preseason broadcasts that we haven't done, which fans have been clamoring for. So I think that there's a lot to be excited about. I think some really smart people who are at the top of what they do are involved in this. So from a technical aspect, I'm so confident. I know it's this brave new frontier, and I get all of that. I get that it's different. I also know that almost everyone I talk to watches Netflix, and like the biggest shows in the world, the biggest stand-up comedy specials, original programming can be found on Netflix. And it's interesting because what channel is Netflix on? It isn't. It's just wherever you go to.
Luds is waiting for it.
I thought that was a test.
Yeah.
He started breaking out into a sweat.
I just hit the red end.
It's not a channel, but it's on your phone, it's on your tablet, it's on your smart TV, and so this is kind of where things are going. I know I've heard Brad say multiple times, this is the future. It's the future, and it's also the present. And so I love that they're able to do that. Again, I know it's new, and I think fans, from what we've heard, are pretty excited. I think it's a great look.
Speaking of look, no more ties?
And no more ties. How about that?
See how I did that? That's called a segue.
You're a pro.
No more ties. I was going to wear a tie just like when I came in here, just throw a tie on top of this. I didn't know. Just it's 20 years of habit.
Well,
and then you got to lose it.
I was going to say, besides you going for the jazz pianist look, what is there anything you can tell us that we'll see throughout the year?
I'll mix in some sunglasses, right? Actually bring a piano, start
Shady
playing.
Rays. We got to get
Oh
a pair
my
of Shady
gosh.
Rays.
Some Shady
How
Rays.
about some of the
Who
Foco
are
shorts?
you? Where were these segues when we
The
were on the
overalls.
desk together?
The overalls.
The bibs.
You like to call them bibs.
Yeah, bibs.
They're bibs. They're
So,
definitely
See?
bibs. Yeah,
Are you a bib guy or you overhauls?
well, not overhauls.
Overhauls.
He adds an
Overalls.
H in there that doesn't
There's
exist.
overhaul is something you don't wear, right?
No, overalls.
Yeah.
What the
you know
hell
what?
are we talking about here now?
Overalls.
Overalls
Did you only
and
have
bibs.
one beer?
I said overalls and bibs.
No, you did it
said
that time.
overhauls.
No, I don't.
Let's go to the tape. Overhauls. We'll do that
All right.
tomorrow for sure.
Yeah. I could be both.
Find some
Let's-
nugget out of the show.
Do we go in Discord questions?
So
Is that
yeah,
what-
we have kept you way past time. You've been very generous with your time. I'm not even going to ask you because it would be that awful position of, do you have time for the diehard questions? You'd be like, no, I'm out.
No,
I
I gotta
can't.
go.
So
yeah, of course,
just a couple
man.
real quick, and
Whatever
then
you guys
we'll
need.
let you go. But we appreciate you going into a shootout here.
Yeah.
So T-11 writes, what is an interview process like for a television play-by-play announcer? Do they send a game and have you send a clip back of you calling some random game?
It's a good question, and it's different depending on who's doing the hiring. But usually there is a sample game that you would call. So the higher you go, you have a book. I was making that joke about my demo reel earlier, but anytime you're trying out for a job, you're giving them a sample of your work. So they're getting to hear something immediately, whatever that job is. And then as they start to whittle down and get their finalists, then typically there is a mock broadcast.
Basically an audition.
Yeah, it is an audition where you're typically, because they're not going to recreate an entire game. Bring in all the teams. And, hey, we're going to try to play-by-play guy. We need to arrange a July preseason game. And can we get 17,000 in the building too, so we can amplify with crowd? That would be amazing if they did. The Hollywood budget doesn't quite kick in there. Hey, you go into a studio or you go into a room and you watch a game and then you broadcast it. And they do have to in advance tell you the game that you're going to be watching, because you
cheat.
You have to know.
Did you cheat?
No. I really tried not to, because again, it's like what we were talking about earlier.
The spontaneity.
Yeah. Like it's the way you want to. If you feel like you can do that job, then you don't really need to cheat.
Apparently,
right?
I knew I couldn't do that job.
Did you cheat? He had his notes on his arm.
And you went back.
I had a month. I watched it about 12 times.
I love that.
I knew the play before it happened.
It's like the greatest. Hey,
I came out of there and they're like,
watch Crosby right here. I have a feeling he might do
He
something.
looks like
great.
he's excited. He looks like he's
I
on
don't know.
it.
It's 3-2. This game feels like it should be tied up here.
He's
They're
the
really
early
leaning.
Tony Romo of hockey commentary.
That'd be
just call numbers though.
the
Just don't
greatest.
know nothing about the play. Yeah.
that would be the absolute greatest. But no, that's what the audition process is like. But again, that's the last layer, and up until that point, they've almost always heard something from you prior to that, and then at once you get to that, you're just kind of filling in the blanks and looking for those final details.
Schmitty writes in, your great camaraderie with Razor brings a two-parter to mind. When was the last time Razor made you catch a case of the giggles that you couldn't stop? And have you ever given Razor a case that he couldn't stop?
No, definitely not that he couldn't stop. He'll laugh on the air, and the thing about Razor is if he laughs on the air, you know it's not a courtesy laugh. Right? We're way past the point of that. Like if he laughs, it's organic and it's natural. As he's not gonna break off the.
He's not giving.
He's not gonna do the sidekick Ed McMahon like Tonight Show courtesy giggle.
But he's going to show you his notes.
What do we got?
Can I just show you that?
Yeah, what is this?
Ed McMahon to Johnny Carson.
There
I was
you
gonna
go.
Ask you that.
See, this is what I mean. I don't need to
He's
prepare in
clairvoyant.
advance.
Now I can close my
Did
computer.
you
and
watch-
watch
that was
for 2.5 hours.
This whole thing was up for what, an hour and 60
For
minutes
one
just for an
question.
Ed McMahon reference?
Normally, there's nothing on there.
Or
I
that's
just
a-
leave it open.
It's
They
a
got
good-
their
it's a
thing.
good point. Oh, quick aside, I'll tell you.
I want to know
we-
how many times you've watched this show ahead of time so you knew what he was going to
There
say.
you go.
I've never watched this show.
There you go.
Even now.
Not
The-
now. I won't watch it.
We were on the desk doing a post game one time, and we're in a studio, and it's like the studios are quiet everywhere, and all of a sudden we're doing a segment. It's me, Luds, and Sevi, and you just start to hear play-by-play. And where's that coming from? Is that in our IFB, which is how the producer communicates to us? And like we're still continuing on, and you can't really ask anyone about it. It's like, where's that sound coming from? Are they sending a feed that they're not supposed to into our ears? And then all of a sudden, Luds looks up from his computer. He's like, is that me? Is that me? And he was watching another hockey game at the desk, and he had forgot to mute his computer. I think it was one of your boys,
Always
though.
working. I wanted to know
Always.
what
You
was happening.
Was it one of your
Tireless.
boys or another NHL game? It might have
It
been
was
one of your
definitely
boys.
not NHL game.
Yeah, it was another. I think you were watching.
I think I
your
was
boys.
watching Netflix, as a matter of
Man,
fact.
what channel was it?
And
By the way, we have a photo.
oh yeah, we're
John,
talking about
of
photos.
speaking,
Oh, no.
working on the
Speaking of
studio.
Sevi and Luds.
Yeah,
When you
okay.
guys work
Where
together.
is Luds
my
in this
God,
picture?
Look at that.
I believe it's your right arm and shoulder
Yeah,
that made
see,
the
they
frame.
cut me out
Look
of this
at
shot.
that. They did.
Look at Lucifer.
You know who's holding the camera who cut you out of that shot?
That's you holding
me.
that camera.
It's a
Well,
selfie.
you're not-
Oh,
yeah.
that was the selfie.
Yeah, I remember. I remember that. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
By the way,
that's-
if you people
that's-
aren't watching, we got a picture here of Vinnie Paul, the late great
yeah.
Lucifer.
This was at a
That was so
Stars
much
home
fun.
game with you guys at the AAC at your desk.
It was one. I don't remember the exact event it was, but it was one of those events. Maybe a jersey retirement.
Well, look at Sevy's.
Was it Lednin?
It looks
Like-
like 26 is on his lapel.
Yeah, I was gonna say, was
so
it
is that
Lednin's
Yuri's
jersey?
retirement?
Yeah, I think it was a jersey retirement. And he came. They brought everyone back, and he came and joined us for a segment, and he was awesome, man. He was such a. I mean, Luds knows he was great.
You guys had some really cool guests when you were hosting
Yeah,
on the desk. He had to
the
be
way
up
you
there.
phrase that is almost like you're giving me credit for it. Which
Like you
I will,
brought him in?
I will happily take, but I
Well,
haven't earned.
I know Vinny was there
So-
because of Luds.
Yeah,
there's no
always.
doubt. And
You know how
maybe
many
a little
people
Yuri.
were there because of Luds?
It's
I
literally
used, to
half
feel
of our
like,
show.
I used to feel like I was doing Stars Live with like one
yeah,
of the
the
Beatles.
two police officers weren't there for security. They were there for other reasons.
That's why Josh is
there was
here.
a warrant.
No.
Yeah,
Josh is here for Luds.
that's
Yeah.
right. Well,
Yeah.
I'm,
Yeah,
I'm-
we're
I'm
for
here-
us.
I'm here.
on our
I'm here
show.
equally for all three of you, and Sean.
So, two more questions for you.
Anyway,
yeah.
the second part of that question, he's made me laugh. I can always get it back on the rails, but he makes me laugh every single show because he says something laugh worthy every show. I joke that when you're broadcasting, you have a talk back button and a cough button. And the talkback button allows you to communicate with the producer, with the people in the truck, and the audience doesn't hear it because sometimes you need to get on the same page about what's coming next. The cough button is pretty self-explanatory. You need to cough. You don't want everyone to hear that. Then
something would be nice for our
you
show.
do
in
that.
case.
Yeah.
For our show.
And
the permanent cough.
and with Razor, sometimes it's got to be a laugh button because you never know what's coming. Like I certainly never know what's coming. Sometimes you double take in the middle of play. Like, did he just say what I think he said? And then you just keep going on.
He occasionally makes a
So-
reference to a goose that's having digestive
I was just
trouble.
about to say, were
Occasionally.
you on
And
that?
that
Like,
one,
no, that was
that
predated
one
me.
always makes me, when I would hear that, I'd be like, oh,
That was
okay.
Jamie Benn, right? When he went through like the whole team and he
Yeah.
It was against
something
it was
like that.
against
pooped through a
Carolina.
diarrhea
It
infected
was
goose, I
against
believe.
Carolina.
Yeah.
So anytime you hear one of us laughing on the air, which is
Luddy might have been on the
often.
broadcast for that one.
I'm
Not that
staying
you
away
remember
from,
it.
I'm
If he
staying away
remembers.
from any bad words right now.
Yeah.
That's right.
There you
Well,
go.
good
I'm
for
doing
you.
my part.
smart.
Was poop
Yeah,
on the list?
the laughs are all organic, but we also have to usually pull it back on the rails
So
pretty quickly.
are you honestly telling me you won't laugh at something Razor says even if it's not funny? See that right there?
I was more talking about him.
Yeah.
I was more talking when I said that. I was talking more about him. But he's got a pretty high batting average.
Yeah.
They're
Sam
they're
almost got
usual.
us yesterday. I was in tears. Sam was fumbling over a read while John was trying to get a timer going on the screen. Luddy and I started losing. I mean, yesterday we almost had to like fall out of our chairs.
Isn't
it
that
was
like?
fun.
Is it like if anyone's ever been in like school or in church,
Oh, it's
and
the
like
best.
not you,
I was
either
gonna
one
say.
of those, right? but
Big bolt of lightning would have hit that.
but like when the areas where you can't laugh and you have to laugh, it's like the greatest. It's the worst and the greatest at the same time. With us though, if we're laughing on the air and you're not going completely bonkers, if it's laugh worthy, then we'll laugh and then you get back on and you continue on. You don't want to dedicate minutes to it and turn it into a cackle fest, but sometimes there's some funny. We're in the entertainment business,
Yeah.
Right.
so there's nothing
It should
wrong
be
with
fun.
that, right?
Yeah.
If we're not having fun and you're not having fun, what are we doing here?
All right, so Jimmy T, who's probably our biggest diehard, wrote in,
Hey,
good
Jimmy.
morning. Question for Josh. Who were your favorite broadcasters / inspirations who motivated you to excel in your career?
I mean, the list is long when you want to do what I want to do. It's a fantastic question. I grew up in Los Angeles, I said earlier, and when I was growing up, there was a holy trinity of broadcasters out there that were arguably the best at what they did in their respective sports. And for hockey, it was Bob Miller. For baseball, it was Vin Scully. And for basketball, it was Chick Hearn. I mean, it's insane.
It's hard to get much better than
It's
that.
insane
Yeah.
that they were all there covering the local teams at the exact same time. And then there's national broadcasters who I've listened to my entire life, who I love and think do an outstanding job. But when I was figuring out what I wanted to do and I kind of fell in love with the idea of sports broadcasting, listening to those three, and if you wanted to get on that path, there weren't much better candidates that could shove you down it than the three of them. They were tremendous. And Bob, because I specifically did want to do hockey, I'm lucky enough to have become friends with him over the years. He's the nicest human being off the air, and as great as a broadcaster as he is, a Hall of Famer and deserves every bit of it. He's a better person. Still get to see him sometimes when we make those trips out to LA, and just a wonderful person. He was buddies with, that still is, with Ralph and Razor, and because of the division and them seeing each other all the time, and he was great. But he, Vin, and Chick were. I mean,
he's such a nice guy. Now, you know him way better than I do, but he actually showed me in Dallas one of the times that he was here, one of their Stanley Cup rings from probably 12 years ago now.
Yeah.
But they had just gotten, and maybe was it 2014 they won it? I'm trying to remember the second time. But they got their rings, and he was wearing it in Dallas, and couldn't have been nicer. He showed. I mean, the thing was massive. You know, they're gargantuan rings nowadays. They're nothing like your 99 ring looks tiny compared to what they do today.
What would you do with a ring that size right now? Like, you got a couple, and like you've seen what they've become.
Take it to the pawn shop.
You know? So then the follow-up question is, what would you do with the bag of cash that they handed you after you traded in your cup ring?
Pay my bar tab.
There you go.
Yeah.
So then you'd go need to win another cup for the next weekend.
Yep. Yeah, I'm not into the ring. I'm not into that. When Tampa did theirs and Coop showed it to me, and then Blake Coleman came back to Dallas, and I saw it, and, you know, big smile, and great for them there. But I'm like, where are you ever going to wear that? I mean, you open up one of them rings, and it's got the city inside of it.
They're amazing. I mean, like, they are incredible.
If you're into that kind of stuff. But yeah, I just don't know how you wear them. You know what
I don't think you usually don't, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you get to answer this question better than the three of us.
Yeah, I don't wear,
but I don't think it's a wearing ring. Like you just that's.
I mean, you always have it upstairs that you want it, but it's nice for other people.
Would you put it on a massive chain and wear it around your neck?
So much of what you did and memorabilia is for other people, right?
Yeah,
you lived it.
And the cup parties, you know, now I didn't have that opportunity in my first one, you know, where you can take it home. And so I had it, you know, on the last one. And all honesty, I got it for 5 days.
Yeah.
And 5 days.
How did you or the cup survive 5 days with each other?
No.
Well, no, I've heard the stories, but you both have the battle scars. You still are alive.
If you could have seen the look on the cup guy's face when we had it in my hometown for 3 days, and which was a train wreck to start with, and
Josh,
I got the call and they said,
there it is.
Hey, you can have the cup for another couple days. And I'm like, no, I don't want it. And they said, well, you know, but I said, well, I'll tell you what. I said, I'll keep it. I'll take it to my bar. And the cup guy was sitting there, and I was driving to the airport, and he looked at me like that, and he was white. And I hung up the phone, and he said, we're not taking to that biker bar of yours, are we? And I said, no, I said, yeah, we are, and it'll be fine and all that kind of stuff. And so anyway, we took it there, and we had a little group called Satan's Pride that was there that night too. And so, you know, what happened. And the best part about it was one of the bike dudes was on top of the bar. I wish I had pictures of it, but he was on top of the bar, and so I had the guys come over, and they said, listen, his name was Slash or something stupid like that. Anyway, he said, you got to get him off the bar. And I said, he goes walking up and down the bar, singing, and I said, so I walk up to him and I said, hey, Slash, you got to get off the bar. You're going to fall down. I want you to hurt yourself. Dude, I'm good. And I said, no, come on down. You're scaring some of the people. He goes, I'm telling you, I'm good. I'm not going to fall. And he goes, let me show you. And he took his right arm, and in our bar, those beams that are up there, they were wooden beams in the bar. He went like this. I didn't know he had a hook for a hand. He goes, see, I ain't falling. He just sat there, and he just swung there for a little while. Yeah, his hook. He had to get the other two buddies to get his hook out of the wall or out of the ceiling.
Was he holding the cup with his other arm?
No. The cup wasn't even around. The cup was trashed on the pool table.
Of course it was.
Trashed. Yeah. So anyway, but that happens a lot. I mean, those guys got to put the cups together after, you know, those kind of nights. So. But again, like that is all what we said. It's all for the people. For me, it's all for the people that were my friends, and, you know, they're in your corner your whole career and stuff like that. It's more for them. It's for them to see it.
Which is awesome, because you know, in every player whoever gets to that level, they'll all attest to the fact that they couldn't do it without those people.
Yeah.
And everyone's living vicariously through. So I love the tradition. I think it's great.
All right, we're going to wrap this up because we are getting you've been way too long, but I do have one final question.
I thought the boss was coming back with more beer, but apparently not. He's telling us to get out of here.
You can hope.
He's afraid it'll
it's
go
going to be another 90 minutes, right?
Right.
Okay, so your broadcast partner, as you well know, has a lot of opinions about the state of the game, about rules, about center ice logos, you name it. So if you were we could call it Supreme Overlord. Let's call it Commissioner of the League for a day or for whatever. Is there anything about the NHL that you would, if you had ultimate authority, you would change?
Man, that's a really fantastic question. I don't have an immediate answer. I'm not nearly as opinionated as Razor is with things like this, which makes for some of those laughs we were talking about earlier with rule changes. I think the game is in a pretty good spot. I know sometimes on the air, like when they're reviewing things and they're going to start doing this, when we would want to know what they're looking at.
I would
right?
love that commentary.
And I think that's a pretty fair ask.
Have you seen it in rugby? Have you ever seen those? So
no.
I've seen occasional, they do it like in a rugby broadcast. They will actually televise the conversation between the on-field or on-ice referee, and in this case, it would be the operations center, the situation room in Toronto. But you can hear the video review conversation from the guys on the ice back to the whether it's in stadium VAR for soccer. To me, it humanizes the officials. You hear how they see and interpret, and you go, oh, they're just trying to get the call right, which is what we all expect.
Yeah.
But sometimes fans go, oh, he's trying to stick it to our team. You know, they always have a bias toward us. And the truth is they're just trying to get it right. And you may not agree with it, but you hear those interpretations. So
He needs another one.
yeah, you can bring him another one
he
if you
needs
want.
another one.
But
He
anyway,
was asking me before if he could
We
get
got-
another one.
I agree, Josh.
We're reining them in. Thank you. There we go. Awesome. Cool.
But I
We can't get
agree.
rid
I
of
would
them.
love to hear when they do those reviews for goalie interference or
look,
whatever.
if they're gonna, I'm not anti-replay. I'm not. But if they're going to stop the game and if they're going to just press pause on everything, then the players on the ice, the 18,000 in the building, and however many more people are watching this game, like probably they should know why. And I think it's a pretty easy fix. I think it's a pretty easy ask. I don't know if you gave me more time on that question because there are a lot of different ways you could go.
Have they ever told you
but-
why you can't hear it, see it, or they won't? Have you ever asked?
Yeah. I don't know that there's ever been a clear-cut answer. I think a lot of what they're trying to do, and I understand why. I think they do want to protect officials. And I understand wanting to protect officials, but I think that sometimes like they don't need protecting in that position. Because if they're clearly looking at something, even if you're looking at multiple things on the same play, I think you can say that. Right? That's not, if it's a catch-all, we're looking for a missed stoppage because now there's that one. If did a hand pass immediately lead to a goal? Did the puck hit the hard-to-see netting out of play?
Right.
The game moves really fast.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't tell you how many numbers of goals that get scored, and then we got to get the super slow-mo, and then we're watching it in the slowest possible frames that you can find, and we're we're not exactly sure. So they're having to make these calls. It's a hard job, but I think in a way, you'd even cut them some slack. You'd give them some grace because then the replays would be able to explain to you why it's taking so long, why it's so hard. But instead of us just sort of either being silent or guessing what's going on, that feels like a pretty easy fix. It also doesn't feel like it's this earth-shattering, terrible thing. The game's in a really good spot right now. But yeah, I'd like to know when those situations arise.
My biggest one is I would have the wizardry to make goal line technology a thing in hockey, because the biggest point of our game is to score goals, and we don't have what we again. I'm sure it's closer than it's ever been, but to be able to definitively say through technology the puck has crossed the line or not would be awesome. You could then parlay that into an offside and make that maybe semi-automated. I think that'd be better. But to me, the goal line thing would be great because how many times you think a puck is in, but the goalie's pad cover, you never get a good
And then
view.
there's the parallax angle and all the
that
things
stuff,
that
yes.
you can like,
On the edge.
which for social media and screen grabs is the worst thing in the world.
Yeah.
Because,
Isn't it?
Because you can make something look like it actually isn't, and then there's this firestorm of public opinion. And again, you understand why, but it's tough without a definitive. Are we supposed to get Luds to explain the parallax angle?
I was just sitting here thinking about how much
I saw his eyes glaze over when I
He's-
said that. I'm like, it's been too long without beer,
No,
and we
it's-
just introduced that.
It's not that. I know what it is. I just don't like saying it.
No?
No.
Why? The actual word or the meaning
The
behind
actual
it?
word.
All right.
because there's too many ways for me to go with that word, and it wouldn't be the proper. I would screw up parallax. See,
No,
that's
you got
why I
it.
don't do it.
I'm just sitting here thinking,
Is it parallax?
One
Parallax.
more. So Andre
Parallaxal?
Vasilevsky, who's a household name now, was
Why are you
kind
laughing
of
at me? Then?
he was
laughing at
this
you.
young up and coming
He's
player.
laughing at me. He doesn't know how to say it either.
He was.
should
again,
we bring up Shohei Ohtani
I'm actually
to a Dodgers fan?
All right, I wasn't going to
That's-
say it,
that's
but
Didn't
I'm,
know how to
I'm only
pronounce it.
laughing because
Yeah.
don't you guys have kids? Like, I feel like
Yes.
I have things to do today. Don't you
Wait.
guys have things to do?
He's trying to
for
get
your-
us off the
for
air
your
before
family?
our boss
yeah,
fires us
yeah,
all.
he's punching out. So this
I
one
got
really
nothing.
quickly.
I already missed my practice.
We're on the desk. We're on the desk, and
I'm going to Hooters. Oh no, it's not open.
It's not even open yet.
Dick's.
I saw that it was
Isn't it
closed. I'm
awesome?
like, I saw that it was closed. I'm like, what? You've been here 1 month. They've already had to close down. What did you do, Luds?
Started on fire.
No. Sam, do you
But
remember?
I was part of the location finding thing.
Do you
what
remember
better
the
place to be?
first
Hooters
day
on one
that
side,
Luddy
Dick's on
came
the
We
other.
are having how many conversations at once right now?
I'm laughing. I'm
This
really
is
laughing because
amazing.
Josh,
See,
the
that's not
first
part of
one-
either
one.
I
You
was
need the
wondering
old, like,
earlier,
COVID plexiglass.
how
to, like,
come I'm not on a
separate-
2-shot with Josh?
Oh
Because
my
I'm always
the
talking
first
to
day
Josh.
Lutz
These two
came
are
to
talking
our
to each other.
office, he saw
Owen's
the
just
Hooters,
always
and
talking.
our group chat quickly saying, "Are we having our production meeting at the Hooters?"
I started this telling you my best production meetings ever with Luds took place at a drinking establishment.
I'm not surprised at all.
No,
See,
it
we
was
should be on a
wonderful.
2-shot
It was
right now, not a
wonderful.
1.
So yeah,
No,
we're-
that's a 4.
Here, you just gotta get in here and get comfortable. So the parallax angle, this quick story. Andre Vasilevsky, he's a brand new goaltender for Tampa. We all thought he was going to be really good, but he's just starting out, and we're going through who the starting goalies are. Lud sees it, and he's like, nope, he's going to be AV. He's going to be he's going to be AV on the broadcast tonight. And we're joking with him. We get on the air, and I fumble Vasilevsky. And I don't remember what I said. It wasn't this huge hiccup, but I fumbled it. He turns to me. He's like, see? AV. And it was amazing. He was just waiting for it.
And that is a perfect way to wrap it up, Josh. I think you actually beat
sequitur.
Razor's time.
Oh no, he went way over. We like Josh.
Yeah.
he
Oh,
my
outdid
God,
Razor.
Look at this.
You were waiting for that
but
line,
that's
weren't
only
you?
because he was with us.
I
in
kept looking at the
spirit,
timer. I'm like,
so-
keep going, keep going, keep going.
That's why.
I can't
was
wait
here.
for you to sign your name on the wall over Razor's name on the
Over
wall.
it.
I've
That's
had to-
coming up
okay.
next.
I've had to go to
Yeah.
the bathroom since the Empire Today read. So
Well, anytime you get the beverages, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
I know I was getting a tall boy.
I'm just
over
glad
here.
Poor-
you still
poor
have
Sam.
to.
Oh my
And
God!
Don't
you
forget to
didn't
follow
get
our
it.
show.
One little
Right.
tall
At
boy.
DLLS_stars on Twitter. Of course, we will do a different show tomorrow. We don't have our weekday show because we have a game tomorrow night. We will be doing our real
We
pregame
do? I have to get
and
out of here.
postgame. I mean, shouldn't you be on a plane already? We're going to be doing our pregame show
Yeah.
at 6:30. The
Razor
game's
not
at
gonna be
7. We'll
No,
do a
not
full
Razor.
postgame show.
We'll talk later.
Luds will be here. Sam will be here. And Josh will be not here.
I'll be at the Victory Plus studio.
You'll be ready.
I got a period.
Oh, that's
tomorrow.
right. You're
Yeah.
part of the Allcast
Yeah,
tomorrow.
Yeah,
so
we got the huddle. So,
so
I'll be
he'll do
jumping
this
on that
again,
One. I
but
will.
under
They're
normal
gonna kick
time
me
constraints.
out. They're gonna kick me out. Yeah, that one. But seriously, guys, wonderful show. I've really enjoyed listening to it. It was fun being here, and keep up the great work. I'll be following you all season long.
Don't forget your bobblehead.
Thanks, Josh.
I
Take
got
your
it.
And
bubble.
please
I
come
got
back
him.
sometime.
I got
We'll
him.
do this again.
Yeah, can't wait.
We
This was a
actually
blast.
will have time to talk a lot of hockey. Like all this is, we barely talked about lines. We have all these storylines we could hit you with.
We got 8.5 months. We'll get there.
Well, thank you, Josh
All right.
Bogorad, joining us. Great
Thanks,
as always
everyone.
to have him on. For him, he, and I'm me. For Craig Ludwig, Sam Nessler,
Just come
our
up with a
producer
little
John
Three
Anderson,
Stooges
for our
logo.
Supreme Overlord and our general manager who made it a cameo today. I'm Owen. Thanks so much for
MVP.
joining us. We will be here
MVP
tomorrow,
Ben.
pre and post game show on Thursday. Stars and Blues wrap up the preseason. Until then, so long, everyone.
Please cut the feed.
We all city like the mayor.